Hello, hello, and welcome to Oracle Hour. My name is Sabrina Rising. I am a spiritual mentor and a psychic medium, and it is my honor to channel spirit on your behalf. I am so happy to be here with you on Wednesday night. We are streaming live on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, obviously, and Instagram. So if you are, as usual, in any one of those other places other than YouTube, and you want to ask, you have a question for the Oracle, I am the Oracle, then go ahead and join us on YouTube and put your question in the chat. I'm just making sure we're live on Instagram. Beautiful. Okay, so I answer questions on a first come first serve basis. I have my trusted moderator here with me tonight. Her name is Lorraine, and she's here just handling your questions while I'm doing the channeling. If you're new to our community, don't be shy. This is a very loving, non-judgmental environment. There is no question that I probably haven't heard before or cannot answer. So don't be shy. Put your question in the chat, and you'll see that usually there's a theme that happens in Oracle Hour. So I will start us off with a topic of discussion tonight. We're going to talk about shadow work and what that is and why it's so important and how you can use psychic work and even mediumship work to help you uncover your shadow. So we'll talk about that in a moment. And so again, you'll see that the topic sets the tone, and then the questions that people ask are not just for the people that I'm interacting with, but they're also for you. All of the information that comes through during the broadcast is for all of us. It's really here to uplift the consciousness of humanity, to expand our hearts, to open us up to deeper healing concepts, to illuminate the path to taking personal responsibility. And, I always share some tools of what we can do to start feeling better and leaning into our intuition and having more health and being able to manifest and doing all the things that we deeply desire. And so this is so much more than just live readings, although those are fun and I love to do them and they can be very, very helpful. We're also here as a community to help each other heal and grow and to learn from each other and to support each other on our spiritual journey. So if you're new here, welcome, welcome, welcome. And for returning members, hello, everybody. Nice to see you. Nice to see you, Rhonda, Vicky. Good to see you. Hi, Miley. Welcome back. Patty, Jenna. I see you all. Beautiful. Okay, so that's the StreamYard link that Lorraine just put up on the screen. If you want to join me on screen tonight and get some deeper coaching, go deeper into the, me reading your energy and into the situation and offering insights into whatever it is you might be struggling with, then there's the link to join me live. Okay, so go ahead and click on it, and we'll just put you in the queue, and you can come on as soon as I start taking questions. Again, don't be shy. This is a loving, non-judgmental, supportive community, and you didn't get here by accident. Okay, so please take advantage of that if you wish. If not, you can just put your questions in the chat. Okay, good. So tonight we're going to talk about shadow work. What is shadow work? So we call it the shadow because it's the unconscious part of us. It's the part of us that we deny or suppress. We just don't have access to it. Okay. And it's not inherently bad. It's just something that we can't necessarily see or feel or have a conscious awareness of. That's all the shadow is. Okay. And it's important to be able, as we do inner work, it's important to be able to illuminate these aspects of ourselves, to bring them into the light so that we can learn to love these aspects of ourselves. And it's only through loving our shadow that we start to dissolve its patterning, we start to dissolve its tenacity, we just start to dissolve the intensity of it as it plays out in our lives. What can be in your shadow is perhaps some of your deepest fears or some of your deepest traumas or limiting beliefs, all of the above, right? So the shadow is that part of you that you are denying and suppressing, the part of you that experiences deep fear, deep rage, uncomfortable emotions that we don't, as human beings, we don't want to experience these. And so we deny, we suppress them. Sometimes we repress events of our lives that are just so big, they're too much to process. They go right into the unconscious and they become part of the shadow. The reason why it's so important to do shadow work is because we want to know what lurks in the unconscious, because we want to understand what what's in our frequency, what we're carrying around us, so that we can, have a better idea as to why we're attracting the same type of relationship, or why we keep, getting stuck in certain patterns or certain loops, or, why is it that I'm manifesting a certain situation when I'm, consciously making my best effort to do something different, right? So it's important to look at our shadow side as an aspect of ourselves that really just requires love, compassion, empathy, and really self-care. Okay, so one of my favorite containers for uncovering our shadow is romantic relationships. And the reason, you can uncover your shadow in any way, in any situation that triggers you. For example, it could be at work, it could be in a friendship, it could be just in the relationship you have with yourself. Okay, but romantic partnerships, personal relationships can be a wonderful container to uncover our shadow, because they can really teach us about the parts of ourselves that we didn't know were there, right? The amount of anger that we're capable of, or the amount of rage that we have within us, or the parts of us that get deeply triggered in relationships don't really get triggered when we're not in partnership. Okay, so I really like to look at the context of personal relationships, especially romantic partnerships, as a way into the shadow, as a way of really being able to see our shadow self and relate to it with love and compassion. You can have a really stormy, volatile, toxic relationship and walk away from it and say, that was a terrible relationship. Was it a terrible relationship, or was it a relationship that actually gave you a deep access and a vision into the darkest aspects of yourself, the capacity that you have for rage, and for fear, and for uncomfortable emotions, and ultimately the opportunity to love those aspects of yourself so that you can heal ultimately. And I believe this, and this is my context for living, is that all of the circumstances that we create in our lives, everything that we manifest, all of our strategies are really strategies to get our needs met. And then our deepest need is to feel safe, and to feel like we belong in our bodies, that we belong in this life, and to be able to fully love ourselves, to embody unconditional love fully and completely. And we cannot do that unless we're doing deep inner work and really looking at those aspects of ourselves that we don't want to see, that we don't want to feel. So if you're not in a romantic partnership or a relationship, I'm sure there are plenty of relationships in your life that can trigger you, or do trigger you, or perhaps situations that trigger you. Like, you could be sitting in traffic and be triggered by that. Or you could be at work and be triggered by a situation, in your workplace, or perhaps with your child. So these are all, as human beings, there's no shortage of circumstances to trigger us, so that we can use that opportunity to really go deeper into ourselves and examine our feelings, and start to soften our own inner critic, our own self-judgment, so we can explore these feelings with compassion and non-judgment. This is how you heal your quote unquote shadow self. We take a good look at, why am I feeling angry? What am I resisting? What is it that I'm really afraid of? Why is it that I can't stand this about myself or about other people? What is it about this situation that brings out the absolute worst in me? Okay, so being able to really examine your feelings, and underneath the feelings, because feelings come and go, they rise and fall, they're always passing, no feeling is permanent, right? And whether it's joy or peace or love or anger or sadness, all emotions are temporary. The baseline of you, the essence of who you are, is peaceful, it's neutral, right? There is no high and there is no low. But what's underneath the feelings is the need. And the needs are permanent. As far as as long as you're human, as long as you're in a human incarnation, you will have needs. You will have human needs that need to be met. Okay. And so when we are not getting our needs met, it activates it triggers us. It activates these uncomfortable emotions, and these uncomfortable emotions become information. They become an invitation to explore what's really going on underneath. What is the unmet need? What is when we're exploring our shadow side, it can just be a need for self-acceptance, right? Or self-compassion, or self-empathy, whatever wasn't given to you in your early childhood. Perhaps you were criticized for your feelings for your emotions, for your reactions. Perhaps you were, silenced or shut down or even punished for for your emotional experience. As an adult, you will learn to punish yourself. You will learn to relate to yourself the way your parents related to you. And this creates some shadow aspect of yourself, because now there's a part of you that you're suppressing and you're denying because it was never given space in the first place. So as an adult, now it's your responsibility to give space to those parts of you that you don't really want to interact with, that you don't really want to sit with. And ultimately, what is the motivation? What is the motivation of really embracing our shadow self and sitting in the intensity of our uncomfortable emotions, facing our, the aspects of ourselves that we don't like? Perhaps, you were in an argument with a loved one, and you feel like that brought out the worst in you, or you said something that you deeply regret, or you just can't believe what came out of your mouth. These type of situations. You want to be able to examine that in the aftermath, once you've had a chance to regulate yourself and bring yourself back to a place of center. You want to be able to examine this behavior and go, what was really going on with me? What brought up all of these intense emotions, and really softening your ability to examine yourself without judgment, without criticism, with compassion and with self-empathy, so that you can finally get to the core need. What is it that I'm trying to meet, or what need was unmet, and perhaps has been going unmet for so long that it sparked this major reaction. Okay, so the shadow comes out when we're triggered. It comes out when we're resisting something. It comes out when we're experiencing really uncomfortable emotions. It comes out when we are feeling stuck and feeling out of alignment in our lives. Okay, so this is a wonderful opportunity. If you're struggling with something currently, there is some aspect of you that needs to be brought into the light, that you need to be looking at and embracing with compassion and self-empathy, so that you can heal this part of you, so that you can bring it into the fold and have a more holistic experience of yourself. Okay, this is so important, especially if you're on a healing journey. The motivation is you get to be fully embodied in love. You get to have the experience of loving yourself unconditionally and experiencing that fulfillment that comes with it, which is what we all really want. That's why we seek the relationship. That's why we seek the career or the thing, the goal, or whatever it is that matters most to you, because we want that experience of deep fulfillment. We want to feel like we've really gotten our needs met and we've fulfilled our potential. We want to be at peace with ourselves. Okay. And we can accomplish this by looking at all those aspects of who we are that trigger something unpleasant or something uncomfortable, and meeting that with compassion and unconditional love and empathy. Of course, this is a learned skill. For so many of us, we have no idea what empathy even is, right? And so it's really just being able to relate to that aspect of ourselves with compassion, with softness, with unconditional love and acceptance. Okay, so this requires practice. I would start with just some journal prompts. If you're doing some inner work and you're on your own, just kind of sitting down and taking some area of your life that you feel stuck in, and really examining some of those feelings that you're experiencing, perhaps some of the ones that you've had trouble admitting to yourself, and really trying to get to the root of what the deeper need is underneath that feeling. What feeling or what need are you trying to meet, that if you had met, those feelings would disappear, right? Those feelings would all of a sudden alleviate, right? You would feel a deeper sense of peace, a deeper sense of safety. You would feel more calm in your nervous system. Okay, so I really recommend doing shadow work. And one of the ways in which I love to use psychic work and intuitive work, and of course mediumship work, is that we often receive messages from spirit that illuminate and give us insight into things that we don't have access to. So if you're sitting with an intuitive guide or a psychic medium and you're using your time, I want to say productively, it's beyond just predictions and what might happen, or, it's what do I need to know about myself? What is it that I can't access or can't really feel or see right now that would allow me to have deeper insight, that would allow me to work with something to get to the root of whatever my unmet need is? Because so many of us are stuck. We don't know what the unmet need is. We just know that we don't feel well, right? And so this requires pulling back some layers. And so I love to use psychic work in that sense where, we can really kind of peek into your unconscious and see what you're holding in your frequency, what you're holding in your body and in your memories that might be creating these patterns and these loops that become part of your shadow when you're not taking full responsibility for your well-being. Okay, so this is, again, if you have any questions about shadow work, if you want to explore your shadow tonight, please put your question in the chat, and I'd be happy to channel for you and to feel into your energy and see what I can offer. In the meantime, if you have any questions about what we've discussed so far, you can always also leave a comment at the end of the video. Okay, so thank you all for joining me live. I appreciate you all hanging in with me. Hello, Jennifer. Hi, Patty. Oh my goodness. Hi, Miley. Good to see you again. Okay. All right, Lorraine, let's jump in and I get to ask the first question. Okay. Patty says, hi, Sabrina. I watched your dream video today. Oh, good. I had a strange dream about my little dog that passed away a few years ago. He was trying to birth puppies and I had to do a C-section to save them. Interesting. I mean, that makes sense. There's so much I can say just about that. Then I panicked because I had accidentally cut his neck and ran to the vet with him. I woke up, but it has really bothered me. Okay. I have had more strange and disturbing dreams, but your dream video was very helpful. Okay, good. I'm glad the dream video was helpful. There's different dreams. There's, again, visitation dreams, there's processing dreams, there's lucid dreams, there's dreams that are kind of like you foreshadowing dreams. So this feels like a processing dream. Okay, so let's bring up the first part of the dream. Okay, here we go. So the dog represents unconditional love and companionship, right? And friendship and loyalty. And there is something, at the birthing of the puppies, when you look at what the symbol around that is like, it's kind of like unconditional love wants to come into your life, right? It wants to be birthed into your life. And the fact that you had to give a C-section is like, there's something here for you to really get involved in. Like it requires you to do some work to manifest the birth of unconditional love in your life. Okay. And I also want to say too, what I feel from the dream is there might be some guilt on your part around, the well-being of your dog, or, you having been there for your dog or your dog's health at the time when this dog was in your life. Okay. So there might be something that you feel like you could have done more of, or you could have saved him somehow. I want to just say that intuitively as a hit. Also, that the dog also represents first of all, your dog is with you, and the dog, our pets never leave us, even when they're in the spirit realm. So the dog is kind of like, showing you that you're capable of delivering this unconditional love and bringing it into your life, even though you don't fully trust yourself, which is why you're cutting the neck, right? Here's the accident, is like, I accidentally did this. That tells me that your subconscious is saying like, hey, you don't fully trust yourself to do this procedure and to do it properly and to take proper care of the things that really require unconditional love. And in your life, that's you, right? And the dog represents you. Does that make sense? It represents the aspect of companionship and unconditional love that they mirror back to us. Okay. And the second part of the dream is, I panicked because I accidentally, okay, so that's you not trusting yourself, but you ran to the vet with him, which is you taking responsibility, right? So you don't trust yourself, but you know that you have resources and you know that you've got help, right? So I would love to know how the dream ended. I would love to know how you felt in the dream when you woke up. But this is really about your relationship to unconditional love and your ability to trust yourself in the care of it, in the, I want to say the allowing of it is the word that comes through. Okay. So this is what requires some work. I would first of all journal the dream, and then write down how you felt, and then write down any aspects of this dream where you that represent how you feel about yourself, as far as lacking trust, or lacking, not trusting your own skillfulness in this process. Okay, that's my interpretation of your dream. I love decoding dreams, by the way. So if anybody else has dreams that they would like to put in the chat, I invite you to do so. I hope that's helpful, Patty. Okay, it's really important that you don't walk away from this dream feeling like I failed or I made a mistake, because that's what the dream is showing you, is that that's how you actually feel about yourself. Okay, Patty says, my pets have all been rescues and I always feel guilty when they pass away. I wake up before I am. So that's the intuitive hit I was getting, the guilt, right? That you could have done more or could have done something else to save them. The fact of the matter is that there is just an endless amount of unconditional love for you, and the puppies represent that. Okay, there's always, it's kind of like there's always another opportunity to have a dog, and to have, which is basically the expression of unconditional love. Okay, and I want you to play with this concept of, do I really trust myself? Because that's what the subconscious mind is trying to tell you in the dream. Trusting yourself to be fully capable to give and receive unconditional love, to be in the experience of unconditional love, and to let it be what it is, without trying to control it, and without feeling like you have to govern it. Okay, you're in charge of it. You're not. You're just allowing it into your life. Okay, Patty says, thank you, it helps. Okay, good, beautiful. I'm so glad that was helpful. Thank you for sharing your dream with us. I love that we're talking about shadow, and we're talking about shadow in the dream. So let's see what other questions we have for the oracle tonight. Rhonda says, hi, Sabrina. Is my shadow a container for only negative stuff? So I love this question. Shadow is the unconscious, or the suppressed, or the parts of you that you deny. So that's how I want to answer that question. It's not necessarily bad, it's not just negative, but when you're denying something and suppressing something, it's usually because you don't want to feel it. So the likelihood of those being uncomfortable emotions, or emotions that we just don't want to experience, is high. Okay, but yes, I would say it's the aspects that we just don't, we don't have access to, and we suppress. Okay. Rhonda says, how apropos that I'm being informed that this new relationship is a container for my continued growth. I'll be still. Yeah, good job. I love it. And look and listen and learn. Beautiful. Yes, the relationship is bringing out your shadow, because it triggers your deeper fears, your deeper, unresolved trauma and issues around love and being loved and allowing yourself to be loved. And so, like I said, we can walk away from relationships that are painful and say, that was really painful. That was really awful. I hope I never get to experience that again. Or we can say, hey, that relationship really showed me where I was lacking in self-awareness, self-love, self-responsibility, self-honoring. And it really showed me my capacity for deep, uncomfortable emotions, the depth of the fullness of who I am. It's important to love all of ourselves. The way that we, for example, and I'll talk about this in this context. If you have a repetitive pattern, let's say you have an addictive behavior, or any type of self-destructive behavior, this is your shadow side, right? So you want to be, the way that we resolve addiction is not through complete abstinence and self-denial and self-deprivation. That's called white knuckling, and that doesn't last, right? It's not pleasant. First of all, it's not sustainable. It's not deeply rich and rewarding, and there's no calm or peace in that. Okay, so we resolve our self-destructive behaviors by learning to love ourselves, by learning to love and accept ourselves exactly as we are. We learn to fill our own cup with empathy, with compassion, with love. We learn to uncover what's underneath the root of these behaviors. What need am I trying to meet? What is this really a strategy for? And then we learn other strategies that are more constructive, like self-empathy, self-compassion, as I'm talking about. And that resolves the tendency. It resolves the tendency. Once we start to feel filled with love, and we start feeling really good about ourselves, our frequency, elevates, as we say, and, I'm in a more high vibing place. The attraction to engage in self-destructive behaviors, the tendency to be in that energy also dissolves. Make sense? So it's really important that we see it from that aspect, is we are learning to love and accept all of ourselves, whether that's through relationships, through your patterns, through your circumstances, through the situations that create pain and suffering. Okay. Love heals my shadow. That's right, Rhonda. It absolutely does. It heals everything. Right. And so it just needs to be done intentionally. It needs to be done with, openness and softness and patience and regularity, consistency. Okay. Beautiful. Thank you for that input. Okay. Hi, Jennifer. Jennifer says, hello. I would like to know if the guides have any guidance for me for September. Thank you. Hi, Jennifer. Hmm. Um, September feels like you're closing a loop. Did you sell your house or your property? I don't know if you're still here and you can validate. I would love to know more about where you're at in your circumstances. Like if you're, it feels like closure. September feels like closure for you. So there's like the coming full circle in hello, no, hasn't sold yet. Okay. So September feels, like I said, September feels like closure, and it can be closing date that I'm hearing too. So there is some part of you that's kind of like letting go of holding on to the past. There's a closing of a chapter, moving forward in your life, and I think along with the sale of this property will come some, so like sort of a windfall. A small amount, feels like not as big as you expected, but some money will come from this, and you'll be able to do some things that you wanted to do for quite some time. Okay, so it feels like the end of the year for you is really about closure and about tying up loose ends, and perhaps doing some deeper inner work, or doing some you know reinventing yourself a little bit. Okay, so there is some a time, it seems like a time for deep introspection, self-reflection, and really examining where you are, and where you'd like to be, not just physically and circumstantially, like location wise, but also where you'd like to be on a personal level. I feel like you want to create love in your life, or intimacy, or relationships, and so on. So there is like an opening up of that, and it's really important. First of all, these things take time, and these things are always a byproduct of our energetics. Things, opportunities open up based on our energy, based on our belief system, and based on how we're holding the intention in our minds and in our hearts, right? And whether or not we're taking aligned actions. So it feels like these opportunities are opening up for you for September. It's starting to sort of, I feel like you've been sounds like a druidic practice of fall, things ending. Yeah, beautiful. Yes, that's poignant. And this is your ancestry, right? These are your roots. I want to say more, I feel like it's more Celtic, but I think that's all in the same vein. I would really, in fact, because you bring that up, I would do some deeper work around these particular traditions, and spend more time in nature and things like that, so that would really sort of open up your process and open up your, Jennifer says, yes, very much so. Okay, good. So I feel that, so there's like a coming home to yourself that's happening in September. And because I feel like you spend so much time being invested in, the circumstances and making logistics and where to go and what to do and making things work. There's a part of you is just kind of letting go now. Like, let me just let go of everything and surrender, and just hold the frequency of the life that I want to live, of how I want to feel every day, and watch how that unfolds for me. Okay. And that's very important for you at this time, is again, the softening, right? We're talking about softening the inner critic. I have let go. Okay, good. Beautiful. So you're right on schedule with what's in store for you, like continuing that letting go process, and just like softening, and interacting with those shadow aspects, as we've been talking about tonight. Any lingering resentments, any lingering like feelings of incompletion, especially as it relates to your family. It's time to make peace with those sort of, it's kind of like, it almost feels like ghosts, just making peace with those ghosts and those things from the past, and planting new seeds for, for a new life. That's my message for you for September, Jennifer. Okay, so come back and let me know how that unfolds for you. And yeah, sending you love. Hi, Jenna. Jenna says hi. Sabrina, just continuing. You're welcome, Jennifer. Hi, Sabrina. Just continuing the conversation of messages from my spirit guides as I'm working on myself and journey. By the way, I did schedule the gallery group, so looking forward to seeing you. Oh, good. Yay. I'm looking forward to seeing you there too. Amazing. For those of you that bought tickets for the gallery, you will be receiving an email with the Zoom link that's coming in the 2 days before the gallery. I've gotten some inquiries around that. Okay. So I'm working out myself. Okay. Let's see what I have for you. I don't know if it's getting cold where you are in the world. Okay. So again, it's right on point with everything we're talking about tonight. We're talking about the shadow aspect. We're talking about, dealing with uncomfortable emotions. And I know that you're in a grieving period. So continuing to interface with that and allowing for the full range of your emotions, be giving yourself time to process those feelings. I feel like there's some shifts in your work situation as well, like some kind of, movement around how you're going to spend your time and how, like how you're going to make money and things like that. Like there are some, I'm looking forward to seeing you in the gallery so that we can interact on screen and we can go deeper into this, but there is a shift in the way that you're expressing yourself in the world. I'll just say it that way. And that is a result of the inner work you're doing. So it's a result of the grieving, the letting go. There's even like an opportunity that feels like it opens up for you as a result of this process. Perhaps you come across something and you're, grieving or you're letting go. There is sort of an unseen, unknown opportunity that's going to reveal itself to you, that's going to open up a door that requires a little bit, I want to say requires more attention, perhaps even more research, more education, and that will open up something for you as far as like how you're going to express yourself in the world. So I think you're in a pivot, right? Like it's like feels like you're totally changing directions here, and it's something that sort of transforms over time. Okay, so Spirit wants you to know that you're exactly where you're meant to be as far as like doing the inner work, that you're learning to lean into your intuition, you're learning to open up your awareness around some of these deeper unresolved emotions, and in the process of doing that, that's going to bring up a lot more freedom for you and some opportunities to express yourself in a different way. So I wouldn't be surprised if there was like, here's a class I want to do and now I want to become this, or I want to go down this trajectory, I want to follow this path. This is really touching you on a very deep soul level, and it's going to create something meaningful for you. Okay. And, it's kind of like, I liken it to like when we have a spiritual awakening, even a small spiritual awakening, just a little nanosecond of it. It's like, we just want more of that, and it feels like that's where you are, and it's going to shift the work that you do in the world and your purpose and all that stuff. So lots of good things coming, but you're in a really tender spot right now. So I want you to stay focused on tending to your wounds and honoring your shadow side and really loving yourself unconditionally. Okay, Jenna? It's good to see you here. What is Jenna saying? I feel my shift with my grieving is igniting a connection between me and my spiritual journey. Yeah, beautiful. I feel that too. 100%. And the spiritual journey is going to open up other things that are more practical, that require actionable things, that are more, in alignment. Like, it's kind of like, when I sort of had the initial stages of my spiritual awakening, when I had to take responsibility for my well-being, for my life. This is many, many, many years ago. I got so immersed in inner work and healing and feeling good and feeling liberated, on a soul level. I couldn't go back to the work I was doing. I just couldn't. And there was nothing wrong with the work I was doing. It just wasn't my calling, right? All of a sudden, everything took on new meaning. Everything had to have depth and meaning in order for me to feel emotionally connected to it. Everything had to be an authentic expression of who I was. And this is a beautiful trajectory to be on. And this is the path you're on, Jenna. This is what I'm feeling for you. So, and it's slow going. It's like a slow evolution. It's not an abrupt shift, but it's something that over time, I'm sure you'll come back here into this community and let me know, like, oh, I took this class, or I met these people, or I joined this community and it opened up this, opportunity for me. This is the trajectory you're on, and it's beautiful. Okay. So I acknowledge you for the work that you're doing, and encourage you to stay on course. Okay. It's like I'm evolving into a new person. Yeah, 100%. That's exactly how I feel. And it's beautiful. And I know it can be scary and painful. Stay on course. That's your message from your guides tonight, is stay on course. We've got you. We're with you, and we're walking you all the way home. Okay. And I'm happy to be channeling for you at this current time in your evolution, just to give you a little bit of encouragement. Okay. Beautiful. Hi, Miley. Miley says, when do you see my oldest daughter getting married and having a child? Okay. I'm only chuckling because the timeline questions are really, first of all, I'm chuckling for two reasons. Number one, because I know that you often have a concern about your kids, right? And most of the time when I channel for you, Miley, it's, a conversation about, focusing more on getting your own needs met and putting less attention on what's happening with the children, what's happening with them. Are they okay? Are they in a good place? Like, there's still a lot of that sort of energy going on for you. Okay. So I really invite you with love and respect to bring your attention back to your own process and getting your own needs met and finding fulfillment within yourself, within your own, like, I feel like there's more you could be doing for you. Okay. And, even like a passion or a hobby or something that really lights you up and that fills your heart. Okay. So there's more joy for Miley. That's what I'm, spirit wants for you. This is what I want for you, is more joy for Miley and less focus on what's happening with the kids. Timelines are tricky. First of all, I'm not talking to your daughter, I'm talking to you. And second of all, it really depends on the choices that we make. Okay. So, do I see that your daughter will be getting married and having a child? Yes, I see that. That's imminent, feels like, but I can't give you an exact time. It's, that would be, she enjoys life and in Greece now. Yeah. Okay, good. So, this, I was going to say yes, and not anytime soon. So you beat me to it. This is something that, I invite you to surrender. I invite you to surrender. I invite you to just encourage her to enjoy her life and enjoy, where she's at and what she's experiencing. She's not ready for this. Like, she's not ready to step into this next phase of life. This is a lot of projection going on for you, like you wanting to see her established and meets a need for safety that you have. Right. So that's your own need. And so I would invite you to focus more. Spirit wants you to focus more on getting your own need for safety met and fulfillment and filling your life up. And that sort of takes the focus off what your kids are doing and not doing, and if they're going to be okay. Right. And so, and if you have a relationship with spirit, which I encourage you and everybody listening to cultivate one, right? It doesn't take a special gift, and it doesn't take a whole chunk of your time every day. It takes 5 to 10 minutes a day of deep diaphragmatic breathing, of creating a mindfulness practice, of connecting with your higher self by setting some intentions and deep listening for messages, listening for answers to your deepest questions. A spiritual practice is something that I recommend for everyone that is on a spiritual journey, so that you can start to get intimately acquainted with your inner self. Okay. Miley says exactly. Okay, good, beautiful. I'm glad that resonated for you. Yeah, I want you to start cultivating that and finding some ease around, worrying about others. This is the key for you. Okay, because otherwise, we're always wondering and we're always asking questions. And I was just talking to this about Lorraine. Maya says, thanks, you're welcome. I was just talking to Lorraine about this earlier. Like, I love to channel spirit. I love to bring messages from loved ones. I love to give psychic, intuitive information and hits and so on. And my goal is for you to never depend on this information ongoingly. The goal is for you to see what's possible, to feel what's possible through a channel, through a guide, so that you can start to be inspired, so inspired by this work that you want to lean into it yourself, and you want to learn how to develop your own intuition and your own gifts and trust yourself and develop personal sovereignty. This is the goal of this work. This is my mission, is not just to give you messages, but also to ignite the part of you that has a deep desire to know. This is human nature. We all have a deep desire to know. And we all have the power to do so. We all have the power to lean into our own intuitive nature, to feel into our bodies, to access the spirit realm, to experience all of universal intelligence. And we do that by addressing our 3D reality. So unmet needs, childhood wounds, unresolved trauma, all of our limiting beliefs, all of the fears that are stored in our bodies, everything that makes us in our identities, and otherwise known as the ego self, right? And to learn to detach from being so emerged or entrenched in the experience of your identity, and creating this awareness, which allows for some space, which allows for some other choices, right? Awareness creates space, and space creates empowered choices to show up differently, to act differently, to make informed choices. And this creates the room that we need to access our own intuitive guidance. When we dissolve fear, we have access to our intuition. Right? And I've said this so many times: when we're triggered, when we're reactive, when we're afraid, we cannot hear our intuition, right? So this is a beautiful trajectory that we can all be on, okay? And hopefully you're using these messages to guide you in your own journey so you can cultivate your own intuition, okay? And speaking of cultivating your intuition, we have an opportunity to join I think this is a good time to announce that, Lorraine. We're going to announce that we are starting a community on a platform called School. There it is. This is a platform that is proving to be something that we can do workshops in, classes. I can show up in this community once or twice a month live, for members, who want to interact, who want deeper coaching, who want deeper conversations. So we're sort of moving away from the YouTube membership, and we're using the School link. So for those of you that want to come to psychic galleries and have access to mediumship circles or do workshops with me, you can join for free. And then, of course, there's membership tiers to have access to different things. But that is the link to join us on School. We can have discussions there. It's more interactive. It's more user-friendly, at least for me. So there's the link to join us there. Okay, good. All right. More questions. Kasha. Kasha says, hi, Sabrina. I have 2 questions. Okay. I'm at the end of this program I signed up for that created lots of stress and judgment in me about how it was guided. Why do I focus on negative things? Okay. I love this question. So first of all, we're talking about, embracing your shadow self, and we're talking about leaning into your intuition. These are the 2 things that come through as I'm reading your question. I want you to honor your feelings. You don't know if what you're feeling is actually like alerting you to something much deeper if you're judging it, if you're busy judging it. Okay. So I want you to let go of judging the feelings that you're having, and really get curious about these feelings of stress and judgment. If you don't feel like you had a good experience in your coaching program, like if it wasn't guided properly, you didn't get your needs met ultimately in this coaching program, then I want you to give yourself permission to have those feelings. Your feelings are valid. Okay. They're not wrong, and they're not too much, and they're not, misplaced. Okay. So give yourself permission to have your feelings. And then I would, I think part of you, Kasha, is like not used to advocating for yourself. And instead of I want to say, instead of complaining or attacking the guide, I would say, I didn't get my needs met in this program, whatever the needs were. I didn't feel like it was held in the way that I wanted it to be held, or I didn't feel like I learned what I wanted to learn, or I didn't have the experience that I wanted to have. Well, so being able to advocate for yourself is going to be really empowering for you. Okay. And so it's important for you to honor the experience you had. And it's also important for you to advocate for yourself. Okay. Sometimes these two steps alone is the medicine that we need, is giving ourselves permission to have needs, acknowledging when those needs are not met, and then being able to, ask for support. Are you willing to support me in getting my needs met? Right. And so this will leave you feeling less isolated and less disappointed about, what the experience was. Okay. It says here I have two. So what's the second question? Second question is about my boyfriend. I've been dating for a while. He just got hurt again. It looks like he has this pattern of hurting his body. And it looks like it's a pattern. Okay. Okay. I want to make sure that we're clear on the first question. Okay. So, it's not that you focus on negative things, is that you didn't get your needs met. And so you have to learn to embrace that part of you, and then perhaps bring it to the attention of the guide and see if there's some kind of resolution. Your ability to resolve this harmoniously is going to be very healing for you. Okay. Because I feel like, it's been very, Kasha says, yes, it's been, this is a pattern of you kind of like, feeling disappointed and let down. This ties into the question with your boyfriend, which is why I'm kind of harping on it. There's a pattern of you kind of feeling frustrated and like disappointed, and like people aren't showing up for you the way that you need them to, the way that you want them to. There's thwarted expectations, right? This is like, yes, I learned how to communicate my need with love. Okay, learn how to communicate my needs with love. Yeah, beautiful. So, and it's not just love though. It's empathy. Empathy is so much more powerful than love, and I'll explain why. Love is an emotion that comes and goes. We can feel it in one moment and not feel it in the next. Okay, so empathy is actually a deep concern for not only our experience, but for the experience of other people. Okay, so if everyone is feeling okay, if they're feeling fulfilled, if they're feeling peace in an interaction or a conversation. Okay. So this is really important. When, especially as you're talking to this guide lady, and it's also important as you're talking to your boyfriend, because I want to say, and this is why these two questions tie together as well, is that it feels like you're not actually there's an unmet need in your relationship with your boyfriend as well. Like perhaps you feel a need to take care of him. You feel a need to be there for him, or to make space for his, physical limitations or whatever's going on with him. You say it's a pattern. One of the reasons why we get hurt all the time as human beings seem to find themselves in, Akasha says, yes, correct. Okay, good. So one of the reasons why, we can manifest the experience of getting hurt or injured is, because well, there's many reasons, but one of them can be because your boyfriend needs to, like, he's not listening to his body. He's not listening to his needs, his innermost needs. There's some need he's not getting met. So the injury is causing him to stop and to really focus on what's really going on underneath. So in other words, the body has a way of shutting us down when we're not paying attention to it. Okay. So there is something he's in denial about. He's not addressing, he's not focusing on, he's not giving himself permission to really sit with, that's causing this situation of like, okay, now you're bedridden, or now you can't leave the house, or now you can't go back to work. Okay. There's that's going on with him. The other part that I feel too, and this is another reason why we can be manifesting injury, is, and especially in relationship to you, is that it engenders like caregiving energy, caretaking energy. Please be there for me. Please take care of me. I can't do this. Can you help me with this? I can't, I'm not capable of this. Can you help me with that? Okay. So there's a little bit of that going on too, where he wants someone to look after him. He needs that, even though he can't articulate it, even though he may not even be conscious of it. Okay. He may not ask you directly, but that's something that he hasn't, these are unmet needs for him, that I think relate back to the relationship with his mom. Okay. So again, there's calling in the feminine energy, the softness, the healing energy that comes with injury is part of what he's creating, co-creating in his life right now. And you are complicit to this, I want to say, yes, this makes a lot of sense. Okay, good. Gosh, I'm glad it does. I want to say you're complicit because you're in this dance with him. You're playing this out with each other where you're disappointed, you're not getting your needs met, he's not showing up the way you need him to, and he is sort of finding a way to create grace for himself, getting himself injured, needing you to look after him, needing you to take care of him. And that continuously puts your needs on the back burner because the focus is his injury, or you can't ask for what it is that you want because the focus is his injury. So this is what's going on in your relationship, Kasha. And I would recommend coming in for a reading and doing a deeper dive into these dynamics, because this is a pattern that you're in as well. And it's a pattern you're in with him. And I know that it feels like, you've done some work, or you're trying to get to the bottom of what's going on with you and your business and how you want to express yourself. What should I do then? Well, you got to untangle this, right? And so this is, this takes more than a few minutes. You have to untangle this. You have to go deep within yourself and learn how to set boundaries, learn how to shift the role that you play in this relationship, not being so willing to be the caregiver, not, like really focusing on getting your own needs met first and being able to articulate what those are. We talked about expressing your needs with empathy and with compassion and love. These are all things I would recommend. Okay. So we'll put the link here for you to book a reading with me. There it is. And we can come and do a deeper dive. We can interact on screen, and I can give you some tools that you can walk away with. There are some really good inner work videos on my YouTube library. There's How to Heal the Mother Wound and How to Heal the Father Wound. Start there. You can watch those videos. That's free content. And this will open up some blind spots for you in terms of what are the patterns that I'm playing out, especially the father wound video in terms of your relationship with this man. Okay. Kasha says, I will do that. Thank you. Okay, beautiful. I'm happy to help. And I'm happy to see you in a reading as well. But yeah, you got to untangle this. You're in it together. Okay. And this is what relationships do. That's what they're for. This is part of the beauty. We're talking about shadow work. Like this is, look at what all of the uncomfortable emotions that get triggered in your partnership. And that is gold. That is your opportunity to say, wow, look at my capacity to feel this and to experience that, and how painful this is and how painful that is. And really, sit with these emotions and learn to soften, learn to meet them with love and compassion so that you can heal yourself. You don't need something from someone else. You can learn to fill your own cup. You can learn to soften the relationship you have with self. And when you do that, you dissolve a lot of these trigger points, and you're able to come into full self-awareness, personal sovereignty, personal responsibility for your need for safety, for love, for connection, for for peace in your own body, and so that you can have peace in your relationships as well. Okay, beautiful. All right, one more question. Hi, Ninja Kitten. I love your handle. Ninja Kitten says, hi, Sabrina. I'm at a crossroads about whether I should live alone or with my boyfriend and his kids. Any guidance from the universe and my guides? Okay. I love crossroads. This is perfect September energy, by the way. We're like in an eclipse portal between two eclipses. It's like, this is perfect. Being at a crossroads is very common. It's coming up a lot in my readings and in my coaching programs. Let me channel this for you and see what I have. Okay. Here's what I'm going to say to you. First of all, I think that there's a part of you that's really, I think you're afraid to give up your freedom and to give up your your own sort of space or your own way of doing things. I think there's a part of you that's just like uncomfortable with merging with this family. And I don't think you're fully emotionally ready for it. And not because it's not a good situation. So here's the thing, it's not that it's a bad situation, it's actually a lovely situation. He seems like a good guy from what I'm feeling, what I'm picking up on. He seems like a conscientious person. He seems like he needs help too. So like there's a little bit of that going on. But he's open about that, you know. I don't feel like this is a bad situation, but I do feel like you're not fully ready. There's a part of you that doesn't trust your ability to be in this situation without losing yourself. Okay. And I think this is normal. You know, this is not like, you know, this is a lot to take on. It's a big responsibility. It's a complete lifestyle change for you. Although I do feel like you do things already, like you're already there a lot. And, you know, this is not like, you know, it wouldn't be like in a complete abrupt shift, but it would be a full, like, I'm all in, right? And there's a part of you that doesn't want to go all in. And I invite you to take a deeper look at what part of you does not want to go all in other areas of your life. Okay. You're holding back a little bit. And so I would, yeah, I would have just really transparent conversations about, you know, what it's going to look like to live together, what the expectation is, you know, how you're going to navigate boundaries, like what, you know, all of the structures you can put in place to ensure that you're feeling safe and you're feeling connected, you're feeling considered, you're feeling respected, you're feeling a sense of reciprocity in your relationship with this person. Okay. You know, I want you to move in for the right reasons, not because it's like, oh, I can just, you know, it feels like it also it eases the burden for you in some aspect of your life as well, which is also not a good reason to move in. So I want you to really look at your we're talking about shadow sides. Really look at your triggers around this, your fears around committing to this situation, going all in, what's required of you, and how you need to navigate this in order to move forward. Overall, from like a psychic hit perspective, it feels like a good situation. It actually feels like something that you have been calling in, a sense of family, a sense of belonging to something, you know, the ability to nurture and to love and be loved. You know, I feel like you've been on your own for some time. So this is a good, you know, like I said, this has been something you've been calling in on a soul level. Okay. So you know, I want to give you my blessing, but I want to make sure you're doing the work and you're being fully self-responsible to ensure that you're moving into this fully aware, fully conscious of, you know, what this is going to require and how to not lose yourself in this relationship. Okay. That's my message for you tonight. Hope that's helpful. Good. Beautiful. Okay. Yeah. Let's take one more. What do you think, Lori? You want to do one more? Okay. Poultry Flowers. We have so many questions in the chat. I love it. Poultry Flower says, the question, would you have any general advice for shadow work and the LGBTQ community? I mean, shadow work is the same for everybody. You know, there's no distinction. It's just a matter of, you know, I mean, what are the triggers in this community that other people don't have? That, you know, we all deal with feelings of being afraid, of rejection, being afraid of not feeling accepted, being afraid of not feeling loved, or being afraid of not finding love. I mean, these are all the same issues. You know, like shadow work is really about learning to love and embrace those parts of you that you've been suppressing and denying and resisting. And so it doesn't matter what the context is. The context is not relevant. What's relevant is your human experience. Your feelings, regardless of who you are and how you're living your life and what your choices are always valid, no matter what. You know, they're always valid. And this is, I can't stress this enough, because we are so conditioned to judge our feelings as good or bad, or right or wrong, or pleasant and unpleasant, or, you know, this is what creates suffering, right? Because we suppress our emotions. And when we suppress our emotions, we end up acting them out. Whatever you don't work out, you act out. Okay. So I would really look at like all of the triggers that come up for you, and all of the feelings that present themselves, and really examining what the deeper unmet need is. There's a deep need for safety, for connection, for community, for belonging. These are human needs, right? And so we all have them, regardless of what community we resonate with or align with. Okay, so we all have those, and it's important to make sure that you're getting those needs met, so that you can experience the feelings that come along with having your needs met, which are the more positive ones, the more pleasant ones. When we stop judging our emotions, we give ourselves permission to feel the full range of them with non-judgment. We can actually get to the root of what our needs are, and this empowers us. It empowers us to make the choices that we need to make, to lean into our intuition, to trust ourselves, and to put structures in place so that we can create a life that we really resonate with, that we really love, and that we feel aligned with. Okay. And of course, that's entirely up to you. We're all unique, right? So I hope that's helpful, Paltry Flowers. And thank you so much for asking such a beautiful question. Thank you, everybody, for sharing your heart and your soul and your dreams and your circumstances and your struggles and your pain with me. I take this as a huge privilege. It's a tremendous act of trust. And I feel very honored to hold space for you, to guide you, to navigate you in your questions, and channel spirit on your behalf. For those of you that got your questions answered tonight, please integrate. Take some time, journal, hit the replay button, watch this again, really feel into the messages, making sure that you are processing what you received and you're putting it into action. Okay. The way we move energy is by using our directives, whatever, spirit gave to us to use, and implementing those directives in our lives so that we can start to see things shift. Okay. So it's important that we have things develop as we go. Otherwise, we get the same messages over and over and over again. And for those of you that didn't get your questions answered, I will be back on Sunday at 5 p.m. Pacific, as always, for Oracle Hour. Or if you can't wait that long, you can book a reading with me, and we can do a deep dive together to see what's really going on for you, what spirit really wants you to know, what's really in your unconscious, what are you suppressing and denying that's preventing you from having the life that you love. Okay, there's the link to join me. And if you want to be part of our inner Oracle Circle community, there is the link to join us on School. We will be there from now on, classes, workshops, psychic galleries, mediumship circles, all kinds of fun stuff. Okay, so I'll see you there. In the meantime, all my love.